You know what most people get wrong about productivity? They think it's about waking up at 4 a.m., drinking green smoothies, or checking off 50 tasks before breakfast. But here's the truth: being productive isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters consistently. The key word here is consistency, because the difference between people who dream big and those who actually build big is not talent, not luck, not even timing. It's the small habits they commit to every single day. See, everyone wants to climb the mountain, but nobody wants to take the first step and repeat it 10,000 times. Productivity is not built in bursts of motivation. It's built in boring, repetitive, invisible moments. The moments when nobody's watching, when no one's cheering you on, and when it would be easier to quit. But you don't. You stay. You do it again. That's where consistency turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't brush for 2 hours once a month, right? You do it for 2 minutes every day. Why? Because consistency compounds. It's the same with habits. One small, deliberate action done daily beats one giant effort done occasionally. You want to write a book? Start with 1 paragraph a day. You want to get fit? Start with 10 push-ups. You want to grow your business? Send 1 email, make 1 call, take 1 step forward every single day. The most productive people don't rely on willpower, they rely on rhythm. They build a routine so solid that even on bad days, they still show up. You might think that sounds boring, but that's exactly what makes it powerful. Because the boring work, the repetition, that's where progress hides. You don't see it growing day by day, but one day you wake up and realize you've built momentum that can't be stopped. Here's the thing about small habits: they feel too small to matter in the moment, but they are the seeds of transformation. Every tiny decision you make is a vote for the person you're becoming. And when those votes add up, they create identity. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be consistent," and start saying, "I am consistent." That's when you shift from chasing productivity to embodying it. Let me tell you something powerful. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. You're going to miss days. You're going to mess up. That's okay. What matters is that you return to your habits faster than you quit them. Missing 1 workout doesn't ruin your progress, but giving up after missing 1 does. The productive person isn't the one who never stumbles. It's the one who keeps getting back up. You can't wait for the perfect moment, the perfect motivation, or the perfect mindset. You create it by doing, and the more you do, the easier it becomes. Small actions remove resistance. The next time you think, "I'll start when I feel ready," remember, this readiness is built through repetition. You don't wait to become consistent. You practice being consistent. When you choose to start small, something incredible happens. Your brain starts to trust you again. Every time you follow through on a small promise to yourself, you build credibility with your own mind. That's how confidence grows, not by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by quietly keeping your word when nobody's looking. So, if you want to become the most productive person alive, stop aiming for perfection and start showing up with persistence. You don't need a massive plan. You need 1 small action done consistently with intention, because over time, small wins don't just add up, they multiply. Consistency is the bridge between goals and growth, between dreaming and doing. It's the invisible force that turns chaos into clarity and motion into momentum. So start small, stay consistent, and remember, the smallest step you take today might just be the one that changes everything tomorrow. Focus is the new superpower. In a world where everything fights for your attention, the person who learns to control their focus doesn't just win the day, they win their life. Because let's be honest, distraction is the real thief of progress. It doesn't steal your dreams all at once. It steals them 1 scroll, 1 notification, 1 "I'll just check real quick" at a time. You know that feeling when you sit down to do something important. Maybe study, maybe work on a project, and suddenly your brain starts looking for escape routes. You remember to check your messages, you open a new tab, you grab your phone for just a second. That second turns into 15 minutes, and before you know it, your focus is gone. You didn't lose motivation, you lost attention. And attention is the fuel of productivity. The truth is, focus is not about doing more, it's about doing less better. The most productive people in the world don't multitask their way to success. They single task their way there. They protect their attention like it's gold, because it is, Every notification, every distraction, every unnecessary task is a withdrawal from your mental bank account. You can't build wealth in your mind if you keep spending your focus on things that don't matter. Here's the secret nobody tells you: focus is not found, it's created. You don't wake up one day magically focused. You design your environment for it. You turn off the noise. You close the extra tabs. You put your phone out of reach. You make it easier to do what matters and harder to do what doesn't. Because discipline is hard, but designing for focus makes discipline easier. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to get so much done while others stay busy but go nowhere, here's the difference: they know what deserves their attention. Productivity isn't about checking boxes. It's about moving the right boxes forward. You could spend your entire day being busy and still not be effective. Being busy is motion. Being focused is progress. There's something powerful that happens when you learn to guard your focus. Clarity shows up. When your attention isn't scattered across 20 things, your mind becomes sharper, your ideas become cleaner, and your actions become more intentional. You stop reacting to everything and start directing your energy toward what actually moves the needle. And yes, it's hard. We live in a world built to steal your focus. Companies spend billions figuring out how to keep your eyes glued to screens. That means if you want to win, you have to take back control intentionally. You have to build habits that protect your focus, morning routines without your phone, deep work sessions with no interruptions, clear boundaries for when you're online and when you're off. Focus is not just mental, it's emotional. Every distraction you give in to teaches your brain that your priorities can wait. Every time you delay what matters, you reinforce the habit of avoidance. But every time you say no to distraction, you strengthen your willpower. You're not just training your mind to pay attention, you're training your soul to honor what's important. Saying no is one of the most powerful tools of focus. You can't say yes to everything and expect to have energy left for what truly matters. Every yes should be earned. Because when you say yes to too much, you're really saying no to yourself. Protect your focus like your life depends on it, because your future does. When you work, work. When you rest, rest. Don't mix the two. Give your attention to what's in front of you fully, then move on. You'll get more done in 2 hours of deep focus than in 10 hours of distracted effort. Focus isn't a skill reserved for geniuses. It's a muscle anyone can build. You just have to start by paying attention to what steals your attention. Because the moment you realize your focus is the most valuable thing you own, you'll stop giving it away for free. Guard your focus like treasure. Treat it like your most sacred asset. Because it is. The world doesn't need you to be busier. It needs you to be present. You can't build your best life in the background noise of everything else. Silence the noise, sharpen your mind, and give your full attention to what truly matters. That's how you become unstoppable. One of the hardest lessons to learn in life is that every yes costs something. Time, energy, focus. You don't always see the price right away, but you pay it eventually. And that's why one of the most powerful habits you can build, one that separates the average from the extraordinary, is learning to say no. Not out of arrogance, not out of laziness, but out of wisdom. Because every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve your purpose, you are saying no to something that does. We've been taught that saying no makes us selfish, but it doesn't. It makes us strategic. You cannot pour your energy into everything and still expect to have anything left for what truly matters. Most people burn out not because they're doing too little, but because they're doing too much of what doesn't align with their goals. They spread themselves so thin, trying to please everyone, that they end up disappointing themselves. Saying no is an act of self-respect. It's you recognizing that your time is valuable, your focus is finite, and your energy is sacred. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your attention. You have dreams that need protecting, goals that need time, and priorities that need room to grow. And if you keep saying yes to everything that knocks on your door, you'll never have the quiet space to listen to what your own heart is saying. Let me tell you something powerful. Every great leader, every high achiever, every productive person you admire has mastered the art of selective commitment. They don't say yes to every opportunity because they know that not all opportunities are meant for them. They understand the difference between being busy and being effective. Being busy makes you look productive. Being selective makes you actually productive. But let's be real, saying no is hard, especially when you care, especially when you don't want to disappoint people. We've been conditioned to equate helping everyone with being a good person. But being stretched thin doesn't make you selfless, it makes you ineffective. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give your best when you're constantly exhausted, distracted, and drained by things that don't align with your purpose. Here's what saying no really does. It creates space. Space for creativity, space for clarity, space for excellence. When you remove the clutter of unnecessary commitments, what's left is room for what actually moves your life forward. The fewer things you chase, the faster you move. Every no is a form of focus. Every time you turn down something that doesn't serve you, you sharpen your direction. You tell the world, this is what I'm about. This is where I'm going. You stop scattering your power in 100 directions and start channeling it like a laser toward what matters most. That's how great things are built, not through endless effort, but through intentional focus. You don't owe an explanation for every no. Sometimes no is enough, because no to others can mean yes to yourself, yes to your peace, yes to your health, yes to your goals. You cannot be available for everything and still be effective at anything. The most productive people are not the ones who do the most. They're the ones who choose the best. Start small. Say no to the extra meeting that doesn't need you. Say no to the endless scrolling. Say no to the things that drain your spirit. Every time you do, you're not just rejecting something, you're reclaiming your power. Your focus is currency. Spend it wisely. Because at the end of the day, productivity isn't about how much you did. It's about how intentionally you lived. You'll never regret saying no to things that didn't deserve your time, but you will regret all the times you said yes when you knew deep down you shouldn't have. So don't be afraid to set boundaries. Don't be afraid to guard your time. Don't be afraid to protect your peace. Saying no doesn't close doors, it opens the right ones. It gives you the freedom to give your full energy, your full creativity, your full passion to the things that truly matter. That's not selfish, that's success. Motivation is a spark. It gets you started. It feels exciting, powerful, unstoppable for about a week. Then life happens. The spark fades, the energy dips, and suddenly that thing you swore you'd stay committed to feels like a chore. That's the trap most people fall into. They rely on motivation to move them forward. But here's the truth. The most productive people in the world don't depend on motivation. They depend on systems. Systems don't care how you feel. Systems don't need you to be inspired. Systems just work. Motivation is emotional. Systems are structural. And structure wins every time because feelings are unpredictable. You can't build a consistent life on an inconsistent emotion. But you can build it on a process, one that's designed to make progress automatic. The people who look like they have endless drive aren't superhuman. They've just created routines that make success the default, not the struggle. Think about brushing your teeth or locking your door at night. You don't need motivation for those things. You do them automatically because they're built into your system. That's what you want your productive habits to become. Automatic. When you rely on willpower, you'll run out. When you rely on a system, you'll run steady. Systems take the weight off your emotions and put it on your process. Here's how it really works. Systems turn effort into identity. Every time you follow your routine, you reinforce who you are. You stop saying, I need to work out, and start saying, I'm someone who trains. You stop saying, I should focus more, and start saying, I'm a focused person. Systems build consistency, and consistency builds identity. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your systems. The truth is, motivation fades because life is full of resistance. You're tired, busy, stressed, distracted. On those days, your system is what carries you. If you only show up when you feel inspired, you'll never get far. But if you have a process that makes showing up automatic, you'll outlast 99% of people. You won't have to hype yourself up every day. Your environment will do it for you. That's another key part. Your environment is part of your system. You can't expect to win in a space built for distraction. If your phone's always nearby, if your desk is a mess, if your time is unplanned, you're not lazy, your system is weak. A strong system makes the right thing easy and the wrong thing hard. Want to read more? Put a book on your pillow. Want to stop scrolling? Delete the app. You don't need more discipline. You need fewer decisions. Every system you build saves you energy. Energy you can use for creativity, problem solving, and growth. Imagine how much further you'd go if you didn't waste time battling procrastination or negotiating with yourself. Systems remove that internal debate. You don't ask, should I do this? You just do it. It becomes who you are. And here's the beautiful part systems compound. The more you repeat your process, the easier it becomes. You start to build momentum, and once momentum kicks in, you become unstoppable. That's why the most productive people aren't necessarily more talented. They just have smoother systems. Their success looks effortless because their habits are effortless. You don't need to feel inspired every day. You just need a system that helps you act even when you don't feel like it. Because the truth is, progress doesn't care about your mood. The work still needs to get done. You don't have to love the process, but you do have to trust it. Build routines that move you forward without asking for permission from your feelings. Make it so simple that success is the natural outcome. Because when your system is strong, motivation becomes optional. You won't need to chase inspiration anymore. You'll generate momentum. At the end of the day, motivation gets you going, but systems keep you growing. The spark is nice, but the structure is what sustains. So build your system, protect your rhythm, and let your process carry you on the days your passion won't. That's how you turn discipline into destiny. And that's how you become truly productive. We live in a world that glorifies hustle, the grind, the nonstop, no sleep, always on mentality. People wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, as if running yourself into the ground somehow proves your worth. But let's be honest, burnout isn't a trophy, it's a warning sign. True productivity isn't about how much you can push, it's about how well you can recover. Because rest isn't a reward for working hard, it's part of the work itself. Rest doesn't mean you're lazy, it means you understand how the human mind and body actually function. You're not a machine. You can't pour from an empty tank. The most productive people in the world know this. They build rest into their systems. They take breaks not because they're tired, but because they know rest sharpens their edge. You don't perform better by going faster. You perform better by recharging fully. Think about your phone. You plug it in when the battery's low, right? You don't throw it away. You don't keep forcing it to run apps on 2%. You charge it, let it rest, and then it works perfectly again. But somehow, when it comes to ourselves, we ignore that rule. We run on empty, convincing ourselves we'll rest later. Then later never comes, and we start breaking down mentally, emotionally, physically. You can't sustain high performance without renewal. Rest isn't the opposite of productivity. It's what makes productivity possible. The moment you start viewing rest as a weakness is the moment you start limiting your potential, because exhaustion doesn't build greatness. Clarity does. Energy does. Focus does. And all of that requires rest. The problem is we've confused being busy with being effective. We think long hours mean dedication. But the truth is, if you're working tired, distracted, and drained, you're not productive. You're just present. You're there, but not really there. You're moving, but not progressing. That's not strength. That's survival. Rest resets your mind. It gives you perspective. Have you ever noticed how your best ideas come in the shower, on a walk, or when you're doing nothing? That's not an accident. That's your brain finally having space to think. When you stop forcing thoughts, creativity flows naturally. Rest isn't idleness. It's incubation. It's where clarity lives. And here's something powerful. Rest looks different for everyone. For some, it's quiet time alone. For others, it's spending time with loved ones, going for a run, reading, praying, meditating, or simply breathing deeply. The form doesn't matter. The purpose does. Rest is about renewal, not escape. Scrolling through social media for hours isn't rest. It's distraction disguised as downtime. Real rest restores you. The more you learn to rest, the more you learn to perform with excellence. You stop burning out because you're no longer operating from depletion. You start making sharper decisions, thinking clearer, and working with purpose instead of panic. You begin to understand that slowing down isn't falling behind. It's setting up your next sprint. If you want to go far, you can't keep running on fumes. You have to pause, refuel, and realign. Because burnout doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from doing too much without balance. Rest is the reset button that keeps your passion alive. The truth is, rest requires confidence. It takes courage to pause when the world is screaming, keep going. But here's what most people miss. The people who rest intentionally end up outperforming those who never stop. Why? Because energy wins over effort. You can grind all you want, but if your energy's gone, your work suffers. So learn to rest before you break. Schedule it. Guard it. Treat it as sacred. Because rest isn't the enemy of productivity. It's the foundation of it. You can't be your best self if you're running on empty. Take time to breathe, to reflect, to recharge. Because when you come back rested, you don't just come back stronger. You come back sharper, clearer, unstoppable. Rest isn't a pause in your progress. It's what makes progress possible. That's not weakness. That's wisdom.